Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Tuesday. It is March 21st. This will be our chart listing for the day. And as you can see, we did get the follow through buying here. This 38.50 area that's been holding here is still holding, and it looks like we're going to bounce higher. So to me, it really looks like we're in a trading range here, and we just came off the lows. I would expect prices are going to try to test this midline at a minimum. And we could even go higher than that. I mean, we could turn back down and try to make a retest, but it looks like we just had two legs down, and now we're going to head up again. That's what it looks like to me. Um, we got a little bit of resistance here early, and it looked like we were going to trade back down and close inside this trend line, but we closed almost on the high before the day was over. The day doesn't look quite as bullish as this bar looks, even though we did close up. It looks more like a range day that rallied at the near the close. So we'll see what tomorrow brings, but I would expect we'll probably um, continue to trade higher tomorrow. So we could turn back down, but we'll see. Let's flip over to that 2,000 tick intraday chart, and we'll take a look at it, and we'll see what it looks like on the 2,000 tick. And here it is. You can see we did not make a measured move here. Once we started going higher, after making this higher low, you'd want to measure this first leg and then look for um, a possible measured leg over here. And you can see we came up a little bit short. Um, and we spent most of the day in this trading range. We didn't break out till late afternoon. So most of the day was spent really, I mean, we were rallying in the overnight, and as soon as the regular market opened, we just kind of started working sideways until we rallied here late afternoon into the close. And so that's for the most part, most of the day was sideways, and you had to play this pink channel. But let's zoom in, take a look at the trades. There's not a lot of them today. The volatility really slowed down today. I mean, it's a lot of mixed trading still, but it feels like a little less volume maybe even today. I don't know. But certainly a little lower volume than what we have been seeing and lower volatility. But anyway, 7 o'clock came over in here, and there's just no setups in here that I like. Of course, you get a close outside here and a move to a new high, and then you're just kind of chopping sideways. But we do get a little failed break lower in this higher low here. I marked this green. I like this because it gives you a chance to get in at the low side of the range. Most of these breakouts are going to fail. And you would expect prices to try to retest this high after a failed breakout. So this could take off, which it somewhat did. I don't think you would have got a runner because they did come back and clean them out there, but it's simply a higher low. And I want to talk about this because somebody sent me a trade, and they were trading as a higher low, but it was more like here's your lower your range, and they're trying to go long into the midline on a higher low, which if you're going to trade a tight range like this, you got to get long at near the lows of the range and short near the highs of the range. You got to be careful entering in the middle because look, every time you would have entered in the middle here, you got burned. So, and then you get the breakout, and so even this one's a little suspect. It does open a tick higher and back up. So you could have used a limit order and got just to make sure you got enough room. There may be enough room there anyway. I didn't measure it. There's just enough ticks to get out there. So you could have saved yourself an extra tick or two by using a limit order on this entry and making sure you got room to get out, because you see it did find the resistance there. Even though it went a couple of ticks higher and you easily got out, it comes back and takes your break even on any runners, and then it takes off. This market, the ES is very efficient, and so they know where people put the stops. They know where people put their break evens, stops, and so forth. So they're always trying to run those. So you got to be really, really careful. And I meant to mark this trade. Oops. But yes, they know where the stops are hidden and so forth, and they'll jump out there. They'll come back and get them. So this market is very, very efficient. But anyway, we do break higher here, and we fell on the upside, but we get the break and the leg up. You actually get a break and two legs up. And I didn't measure them, but if you measure the break in the first leg, and you can see we went a little bit, actually went a little bit higher. And I like taking that short back to the EMA. There's a lower high here, but it's right at the highs. You might take that one as well. I like entering on this one better and then waiting and see what happens. But you still are getting into this one way at the highs of the, but you're coming right back into the resistance that maybe it's a little higher too. So maybe it does close inside there. And when you're trading range, you don't worry about the EMA so much. You worry about it more when other times, but not when you're in trading range. If you worried about the EMA, you'd never get an entry most likely. But drops on down, makes a lower, keeps going, makes a much lower low here. Then you get two legs back in the second entry. Nice second entry short there. Nice lower high here if you wanted to wait and be a little more certain that we're going lower. And I would look for at least a measured leg here. And off it goes. There is a failure here too. We didn't quite get back to the EMA. I'm not crazy about that one. But anyway, it's there. You might take it too. You could argue for it to be green maybe. And I don't see anything else here. There's a second entry here, but the signal bar is not any good, but it comes back and gives you this nice signal bar afterwards. It's just a first entry, and so I marked it green rather than red, but I really like that trade. It's probably going to trap some longs, thinking they got a failure here, but it's a failed failure and leads to a nice little move down to a new low, which you'd expect after a close outside. And then it looks like we're going to bounce, and we end up just going sideways here. But notice you get two legs up here and another second entry short. It actually triggers a second entry when this bar breaks. I would not trade this on the engulfing bar most likely. You could, but I'd want to wait and make sure that this was a bearish bar first, I think, and then go short. And like I said, it is a second entry, but you got a leg up, a break, move to a new high, and then it turns back down. It comes back down here. This one's tempting, but I think I'd wait on a lower high, which comes here, and I'm not sure about that one. It closes below the EMA. This is where you might better off looking for a reversal, and the reversal doesn't set up very good, but when it gives you that triple test there with a nice signal bar, and technically that's a first entry, second entry as well. I like going long on that one. The problem is it's right into that midline, and you got to be careful. But with a triple test and a second entry both, you probably get a scalp out of that. So I think it's worth risking. And again, it gaps up and then backs up, so you could have easily gotten enough room. Just make sure and if you did it that way, you could even call it blue as long as you got room to get out before that midline, because you see it did find resistance there again. But it pushes on through, finds a high up here. I just don't see. I mean, you could take that trade, but that looks really congested. So I would wait, and then you get a second entry short here, and now you got a sure triple test. Nice signal bar. I like going short there. Another lower high here. Nice signal bar. Another great place. You may not could get in that one because it jumps so and goes so fast. But if you can't get your sell stop there in time, but you probably couldn't, drop a limit order and see if it comes back and gets you. I don't know if it would or not there, but it's worth a try. And of course, we run on down the low side and you get a failed breakout. This is another one that I didn't mark. It's got matching lows, so you might take that trade that far away from the EMA on a breakout. So maybe you take that one, but I think you're better off to wait and see if you get a better entry than that. You do get a higher low here, but it's right into the EMA, and you see it fails, and then suddenly you got a triple test there. You can see that triple test, and so I like going short because you're probably going to trap the longs there again, and as long as there's room back here to scalp out, I think that's a good trade to take. And then you get a second entry long here again, and it is a higher low. It's not higher than this one, but it's still higher than this one. If you got enough room there, maybe you take that trade. So it's another one that's a possibility. I didn't like this one because by that time we're just chopping sideways here. So I think you just had to sit tight at that point. We do get another second entry here, but it's an inside bar. I'm just not crazy about those. It looks really congested across there. I mean, you can pretty much see that. I don't even probably have to draw it on there, but you can see it. We run up, we get a close outside. There's a hidden second entry there, but not a very good signal bar. This is an inside bar. You get another one of those failed second entries that creates a trout, but this one's on the upper side of the EMA. I'd probably skip that. And then suddenly you get a second entry long. Notice that's a double top, so that's a new high, first entry, second entry. Again, it's right into the midline, so you got to be really careful with this. Maybe you let it break higher and then drop a limit order in to give you enough room, and I think you could have got away with that once again there. It worked just about every time. And there is a failure here, but I think you're getting too close to the highs to be. This is not really a spot you'd trade a failure. You'd want to see a failed breakout down here and get a chance to enter much closer to the lows. As I said, your goal here should be to try to enter as close to the lows going long or as close to the highs going short as you can. Now there is, notice all that support across here, so there's some different reasons to like this one. You've clearly got a triple test here too, so that's another reason to like that one. Triple test, and there's a failure here, failed second entry short, and there's also a second entry long. So there's multiple reasons to maybe like that one. So I marked it green, but you got to be careful with it. And of course we do move to a new high. I didn't draw it here, but there is a trend channel working up. You get a break. Really, what the reason I didn't draw this is the retest on this break, and usually I don't draw the retest, but just to make sure it's played out, here it is. You get the break, move to a new high, and it turns down, and that's a really relatively small bar. It's only 6 ticks, and it's a very low risk on a breakout, as you can see across there. Way away from the EMA. Again, you're better off to wait on the lower high, but you don't get a setup for that. So maybe you take that trade. Depends on how aggressive you want to be, how good a trader you are. And then you get a, notice that we have a new low here, and then a first entry, and there's a failure right there. But that still kind of looks all like one move up, and this looks more like the failure. So if it breaks higher there, maybe you trade that as a failure. By the actual ticks and counts, it's not a failed second entry. But if you just look at what it looks like a failed second entry. So I like that trade. And there's another way to look at this. We backed up here a couple of times, so those are 2-bar matching lows. So technically you could call this a new low. And if you call that a new low, it is a failure as well. So there's a couple of different ways to look at that. Of course, this is more advanced because most of you wouldn't spot that this is a new low, but a 2-bar matching low is the same thing as a new low. Or a 2-bar matching high can be counted as a new high. So I hope that makes sense. But anyway, you could look at that as a new low. It's a little more advanced, but just keep that in mind. And then you got another new low here, so there's another failure, but it's nowhere near the EMA, so you do have a nice trend going here. And I just like the fact that it came back, tested the breakout area, and then took off on a failure. And so I like that one. You might call that a second entry, but to me that's a double top, and that's not a leg. This is just one leg down, so you're probably going to get another one, and there it comes, even though this would have still worked. There's your 2-legged pullback, and then there's your true second entry long. And it's well after 2:30, so I didn't mark it. But oh, what time did that happen? Well, 14:36. I mean, that's 6 minutes. That's pushing it. If it was like a few seconds to a minute or two into 2:30, then maybe you could still take it. Because I do like that as a second entry long. You see, it was a nice move, and then we just went sideways after that. But there it is. Not a lot of trades today, but there's more than plenty to choose from. And we really had a kind of a downward bias across here. Um, and then we turned back to an upward bias really from about right here on. Just weren't a lot of long setups, unfortunately. But there it is. That's how I saw it today. We had a move up and just went sideways with a late rise. So it's really from 8:30 on, it's just sideways. So basically, it's a sideways day with a late rally. That's the way I would describe this. Anyway, I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm going to wrap it up. Not much else you can say about today. So I'm a little late getting it done today. I said I was going to start trying to do it at 2:30 every day, and good luck with that. But I'm trying. I'll do it when I can early, but I'm going to wrap this one up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.